I'm not gonna lie to you. I got a haircut yesterday, and I no, 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 no. That's a no. That's just terrible. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz. Today, we do this in conjunction with the radio show that we are pushing across America. Glad that you're here. You can find everything at TonyKatz.com. You can comment. Happy to take the comments and share in them. Lawsuits everywhere. And no end in sight. No, I don't think Trump gives a good holy you know what. He knows it's coming. Everybody's going to fight him on everything. And this is because the left doesn't understand that they lost. When you lose, you have to just accept the fact that you lost. When they lose, you have to accept the fact that they didn't lose. It's how they move and how they operate. We're going to get into it. I am glad that you are here, wherever it is you're following. I appreciate it. Don't forget to subscribe, like, follow, do all the things. Let's start a radio show. And again, what is happening here? Nope. Everywhere you look, there's a lawsuit. Lawsuits everywhere. It's like that meme with Buzz Lightyear. Lawsuits everywhere. Washington Times has the headline, legal blitz begins right after Trump takes office. Opponents ready to fight the agenda. Well, no kidding. Now, there's an argument to be made that Trump absolutely told you what the agenda was going to be. They knew what they were going to fight. Now they just had to go about doing it. But they would have fought it anyway. Fighting it is what they do. You would fight. You would fight things you would disagree with. The difference between us is, even with Joe Biden, at least at the beginning, we accepted the fact that he was president. We might not have liked it. We might not even have liked the circumstances, but there he was, took the oath of office, and was president. This whole not my president thing and all that kind of stuff, that really is the purview in the parlance of the left, although I think you can find people who probably said it on the right, and that was probably a pretty dopey thing to say. But the idea of challenges to authority don't exist amongst the political left regarding what is the scope of the presidency, but rather only exist regarding who is the party in power. And when they see the wrong party in power, everything can be challenged because everything is not allowed. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything I do over at TonyKatz.com. We are live streaming. For those of you watching the live stream, you can take a look at my absolutely horrific haircut. Lovely person. Just, no, this is not it. This is not it. The lawsuits come from a series of places, a series of moves that are being I'm not going to say attempted, focused on. Certainly, you can talk about the southern border, and you can take a look at all the executive actions on the southern border, including getting rid of that ridiculous app, the CBP One app that let illegal immigrants, make appointments to be seen. Say, okay, we'll get processed in 3 years from now, or whatever it is. You've seen those lawsuits. The president doesn't have any right to stop these people from coming across the border. The conversations about remain in Mexico, that'll bring other lawsuits. Oh, birthright citizenship. Whoo! That's probably the big one. Now, understand that what we're looking at here is the 14th Amendment to the United States Constitution. The 14th Amendment has, one would think, clarity. Section 1 is about rights. Then you've got how you apportion representation, disqualification from holding office, public debt, and of course, how enforcement happens. And enforcement happens through Congress by appropriate legislation. But here it is. This is the 14th Amendment, Section 1. All persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States and of the state wherein they reside. No state shall make or enforce any law which shall abridge the privileges or immunities of citizens of the United States, nor shall any state deprive any person of life, liberty, or property without due process of law, nor deny to any person within its jurisdiction the equal protection of the laws. The argument made by the people who are desperate to see America fail. I'm sorry, I didn't know there was another term for these people. Is that if you are born in the United States, you are a citizen of the United States. The idea of birthright citizenship. Often you'll hear this described as anchor babies, and people will say, my God, that's such a terrible and awful and despicable thing to say. Call people anchor babies. That's so wrong. That's so rude. It's also factual. It is also factual that if indeed people arrange to have children in the United States and cross over into the United States so a child can be born in the United States, that is its purpose. That is the whole of the purpose. And so the term anchor baby, while some may find it distasteful, is also highly accurate. Completely and totally accurate. The people who want to say, how dare you, let them say, how dare you. Are we going to argue that it never happens? Well, let's say it only happens in the super most ultimate rare occasion. I think we should address it. Because I want you to name another thing that happens in a very rare kind of happenstance, a rare circumstance, rare occasions that you wouldn't legislate. Well, let's say, for example, robbery. If robbery only happened to you in very rare occurrences, would that be okay? Without any level of questioning or legislation? Would all those people complaining about how dare you call it anchor babies, would they say no to that legislation, or would they demand it and then round the clock protection, maybe building a wall around their house or something else? Or is it the person gets robbed and the place gets burgled? Is that the difference? We'll leave that for another day. The anchor baby statement has legitimacy. We should be clear about that. But what they'll say is born or naturalized in the United States. The 14th Amendment is perfectly clear. What are you bothering me for, cats? What are you getting up all in my grill? What are you making my life difficult for? It says it right there. It says it right there, easy to understand, that if you are born in the United States, you are a naturalized citizen. It states all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Now, this has been the non-stop argument. What in the world does it mean to say subject to the jurisdiction thereof? What does this actually mean? It's a legitimately good question. A legitimately good question. This is for the Supreme Court to once again dig into. It's not that they haven't before. People have been sending me things left and right. This from the senator from Michigan, Senator Howard. This is, I wonder how many years ago this was. I don't know how many years ago this was. That the idea of someone just being born in the United States. This will not, of course, include persons born in the United States who are foreigners, aliens, or who belong to the families or of ambassadors or foreign ministers accredited to the government of the United States, but will include every other class of persons. It settles the great question of citizenship and removes all doubt as to what persons are or are not citizens of the United States. This has long been a great question in the jurisprudence, or long been the standing, the thought process of jurisprudence and legislation in the country. I do not mind another debate on this subject. But what I will not do is make the statement that the conversation cannot happen. People who don't want to talk, people who want to silence others say, well, we can't have this conversation. I think we absolutely need to have this conversation. Well, the Supreme Court has already spoken, and the Supreme Court spoke on Dred Scott, and the Supreme Court spoke on Plessy versus Ferguson, and the Supreme Court spoke on Roe v. Wade, and the country spoke on the 18th Amendment and then repealed it with the 21st Amendment. Can I get a little something? A little applause, a little anything. 21st Amendment, everybody. Let those drinks flow. We learn more, we see more, we correct mistakes made. And for the record, although it does absolutely offend the political left, the court has made mistakes. It is not infallible. It has created issues and it has created problems. You want a mistake? Gladly. Obergefell. Oh my gosh, Tony. You oppose same-sex marriage. I oppose the Obergefell decision. The Obergefell decision said that the right to same-sex marriage exists in the Constitution. It created law out of whole cloth. I'm not down for that at all. If we remember history, and this is recent history, correctly, we will remember that same-sex marriage was winning in the States. Why? Because it was a cultural issue. And as a cultural issue, it had to be worked out in culture. And then you would see legislators talking about it because politics is downstream of culture. And it was winning. And not only was it winning in the culture, it was winning in the states where they were allowing same-sex marriage. Over and over and over again, it was winning in the states. Of what purpose was Obergefell? To make this decision, this out of nothing decision, as opposed to Congress engaging legislation to codify same-sex marriage is allowed in the United States. This isn't objection. This is recognition that Obergefell was a bad decision based on those grounds. But if you say that in the United States, if you were to discuss such a thing, you will be told, oh my gosh, he hates gay people. People are going to say about me whatever it is they want to say about me. I just engaged a logical conversation. If you disagree with it, and disagree with it logically. That's all. Just disagree with it. We're grown-ups. It's fine. Well, I disagree with the idea that someone born in the United States is a U.S. citizen because I am absolutely tethered to this concept of subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And as of yet, and I'm not saying it isn't out there, I haven't heard a good argument against this philosophy. Someone who enters the country isn't a citizen. Someone born isn't just a citizen, subject to the jurisdiction thereof. And if we were to say to somebody who is an ambassador, your child is not an American citizen, well, then we're making the statement that they wouldn't be American citizens, regardless of whose child it was. Trump is going to get sued here. They're going to go after these decisions. They're going to go after these executive orders, and they're going to say absolutely, positively not. Let them. Absolutely, positively let them. They're going to sue the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, because they're going to say that DOGE doesn't have the right to exist. A public citizen sued at 12:02 p.m. the second Trump took the oath. The lawsuit says that DOGE is a federal commission and has to comply with rules on transparency and balance of views. The EPA would that be a federal commission or would that be an agency? I'm just saying, who else actually has the quote unquote balance of views? But DOGE, you're seeing that lawsuit. Lawsuits in federal court in New Hampshire and Massachusetts challenging the attempt to block children born to illegal immigrants and temporary visitors from gaining U.S. citizenship. Attempts to strip federal funding from sanctuary cities. Oh, screw sanctuary cities. Un-American freaks. To end temporary protected status. Can you imagine they're going to sue Trump for trying to end something that is the purview of the president? Temporary protected status is nothing more than a gimme in the world of illegal immigration, giving you political cover, even though there really is no difference in the status. I mean, it is what it is. I'm happy to fight with anybody about that. When if you were to sign an executive order creating sanctuary cities, that'd be fine. If you now want to remove funding from them, that's somehow not allowed. Trump has to know all this came. It was coming, was going to come, is here, however you want to say it. He had to know. He had to be fully aware. The team had to be fully aware. Let him sue. Let him fight. Let them go to it. What does it matter? Whether they sue now or whether they sue when these executive orders take effect, what are they gonna? They're gonna sue because he got rid of DEI? Good. Because all those DEI folk have to now find other jobs? Good. Wonderful, by the way. Getting rid of bigotry in federal government? Fantastic. You know what? I'll give that a little bit of applause, too. I'm a good guy like that. Not as much applause as the 21st Amendment, which allows everybody to drink bourbon again. But I'll give it a little bit of applause. Yeah, let them sue. They still don't believe they lost. They haven't been able to figure it out. They can't comprehend such a thing. They can't. But they did. And it's not for us to lose our heads on any one issue. It is about constantly moving the ball down the field, no matter what they try and throw in the way. This is who they are. This is what they do. They lost. And I think they have to be shown what that means. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. All right. So here's what I know about the haircut. I had a person, and they were a good person. Yes, look at that. Maybe that's it. And then they left, and they never told me where they went. And I even said to them, "Tell me where you're going." I don't know. Maybe she got out of the business, whatever it is. And I floated around in that same place. I'm like, it's not perfect. Then I tried another place. I'm like, all right, that's cool. Closer to the house, it's good. It's fine. And then I went yesterday because it was bothering me. And this, like, look. Like, how is it over here? I can't say I don't have the screen. I mean, let me see if I can move the screen. Let's see if I can move the screen over here. Yeah, it's. I don't know. Is it all in my head? Am I just being nuts? Let me ask the key question about any haircut. Does it make me look thin? No, maybe. Yeah, I'm not pleased with this. This is not good. This is not good. And good afternoon to you, Trinity. I'm glad that you're here. I appreciate you being here so much. Mike, Barron Trump anchorman. Now, I don't know the history of Barron Trump. Was Barron is Donald's kid? What am I missing? Well, honestly, is he not Donald's kid? I mean, I don't understand the question. Oh, are you saying because Melania is not an American citizen? Oh, well, that would just be dopey. All right, that don't be better than that. If you're gonna troll, would you dang it do it well? For the love of the Lord, would you try and be good at this just once, please? Kim says my haircut looks fine. Kim, I think that's super kind of you. Nope. Nah, that is. Don't get me wrong. I'm hot, but that's not the point, Kim. The point is, no, it doesn't. It doesn't. What, producer Landon? How dare you laugh at that? That is just straight up fact. Just straight up fact. So, oh, people are yelling at my tweets. It's all just silly. It's all just silly as can be. All right. Coming back in 1 minute. We've got the radio show going. We have got this and more. Also, your comments. Comment about anything. The left side seems. You mean this side? Then like here. I don't know. I don't know. Maybe it's why. Maybe I need to let it grow out. Sharon says it's fine. Sharon, that's very kind of you. It's not fine. It's not fine. It's going to drive me crazy. It's going to drive me absolutely nuts. Thank you. That's enough about my hair. Let's get into the serious subject, shall we? Like the price of Netflix. Coming back to the radio show. Here we go. How is it possible that Netflix can raise their prices again? How? It's not even possible. It seems like every day, every month, I should say, there's another price increase. The ad-supported tier of Netflix, according to the Wall Street Journal, will be $7.99 a month. Tony Katz today, good to be with you. The premium tier is going to go to $24.99 a month. Yet somehow, last quarter, they brought in 18.9 million new subscribers. Now, I assume these were people who were on some kind of, they were getting the service from an aunt, a cousin, an uncle, somebody. They were getting the service from. Speaking of, I'll get to Netflix because it drives me nuts. Okay, if you know about these things, I just want to know if you know about them, and then of course, do you think they're true or not? Have you seen these videos where people are posting like their Ring camera or whatever it is, and it's someone coming to the door and saying, "Hey, it's your neighbor. Did you change your Wi-Fi password?" And the neighbor's like, "What? I did change my Wi-Fi password." And the neighbor's like, "Well, I need the password because I need my Wi-Fi." And the person who owns the house is like, "Wait, your Wi-Fi? It's my Wi-Fi." "Yeah, but you changed the password. Now I can't access the Wi-Fi. So I need your password so I can access the Wi-Fi. Who are you to take away my Wi-Fi?" These people are belligerent. And the whole thing is beyond confusing. And I'm like, is this real? Is this actually happening? Or is this all made for video? Because I've come to two conclusions. Number one, and this one is sad, anybody standing in the street holding a sign begging for money, I don't believe. I've seen too many videos of people then going back to some house or some apartment or some level of being able to take care of themselves. This is just the way they make money. I don't believe them, and I don't do it. I don't give any money. I don't believe them at all. I mean, that's awful, but it's true. Because I'm sure there's some people very much down on their luck. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Everyone else has ruined it for you. These videos where people like, I need my Wi-Fi. You can't take my Wi-Fi when they're not paying for it. How would you ever believe these people? How is it possible? And since everything is getting monetized, I'm assuming it's all made up for the clicks. I'm assuming on every level it's made up. Ed Morrissey, about to join us from hotair.com. What can we expect from the first 100 days? What do we think of the first 100 hours? Keep it here. This is Tony Katz today. Look at him right there. That's Ed Morrissey.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I am.
Does this sound better? Because I was using I was getting it off the camera before, and I didn't realize that until you sent me over the video.
But I don't know if I notice any real difference in what's happening.
Let me just double check that, okay?
Right. Ed wants to make sure that his voice is as sultry as possible because I'm not. First of all, don't ever say that again. What Ed wants you to do is swoon. That's what he wants.
What? I wouldn't mind it. But yeah, I mean, it was really echoey and weird. And I don't usually have that kind of sound quality on my podcasts, and it's the same setup. So I wasn't sure what was going on. And I think it was picking up the camera mic.
No, I think that's fine. I think that's
okay.
Good. I think that's solid. I was checking out your stuff at hotair.com as I often do. And we got a couple story here about the DOJ and a story here about the DEI. I had led the show, the conversation with the lawsuits that are happening, right? All the ways that President Trump is being sued. Oh, I'm going to do it like that. That's the way I'm going to do it. All right. I'm trying some new doodads right there, some new lower thirds and everything else. So that one works better, I think. And so my argument is that Trump doesn't care. He doesn't care if he gets sued. Go ahead, sue me. Also your mother. Like he doesn't, nothing moves him on this subject. But it certainly could be have an effect. But I think that the conversation regarding DOJ and sanctuary officials, the conversation DEI, I don't even know how you begin to go after the guy on those subjects. And so I'm going to get into that with you, but there is a story that you guys have over at hotair.com. And it's from David Strom. I don't know David. I don't think I've ever met David. It is Trump's biggest accomplishment so far, moving the Overton window. Right. I think that's a really super smart take. And I think, Ed, we're going to start there. But before we get back to the radio show, give everybody a kind of a synopsis there. How would you describe the Overton window?
Well, the Overton window is the window of allowable, social discourse, right? We're not talking about government censorship here. We're talking about social pressure, right? There's certain things that you just can't say publicly because they're just so offensive that people just won't put up with it. But that keeps getting narrowed based on cultural pressures. And what shifting the Overton window means is that you have somebody out there who is willing to talk about a subject that has been sort of made socially taboo. And it goes both directions. I mean, the left does this with the transgender stuff. We've seen that a lot over the last 10 to 15 years with the transgender stuff. There's a piece in the LA Times today that I'm going to write about later this afternoon where they're saying it might be taboo to say this, but what if we don't rebuild the Palisades? And what if we don't rebuild, or at least, rebuild it the way it was before? So they're floating the thing that could not be said sort of thing. And what Trump does is just pushes it.
Hold on. Stay right there. We're going to go up to the radio show. We've teased enough. So stay right there, Ed. We'll be right there with you. Smoking the Aladino vintage selection right here. It's a short one here, the Sabano. I love Aladino, Justo Aroa, and the entire family. I think they do excellent work. Let's go. Haircut stinks. So I say, let them sue. The left is never pleased when they don't win. And to the argument I made earlier, when they do it, it's lawful. When you do it, it's a sin against nature. When they do it, it's rational. When you do it, it's costing the life of a fish. Better said, they believe in their piousness, and they don't believe that you should have rights. We have long passed the point of agree to disagree. We've long passed the point of trying to engage in persuasion. Everything now is the politics of destruction. And while I could share with you writings from Ben Franklin when he was in Passy during the revolution, trying to get the French to come on board, discussing these same issues between parties, I even think Franklin these days would say, my gosh, or being in France as he was, sacre bleu. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Ed Morrissey joins us right now from hotair.com, where he is the capo di tutti. Capo Ed Morrissey with 2 R's and 2 S's is where you find him on the Twitter box. You've been writing about this in a couple different ways about what has taken place during these first hours of the Trump presidency. You see the level of executive orders, and you've written twice about this. DOJ to sanctuary officials, we're coming for you, and Trump launches a war on DEI and affirmative action. Now, these aren't the places where he's necessarily facing the lawsuits, but certainly amongst all the things he's getting sued for, like birthright citizenship and et cetera, it does show that he said he was going to do these things, and now he's going to do these things. This war on DEI, as you write it, I don't even think it's a war. I think it's the only right, proper course, as clear as day. But you seem to question whether or not affirmative action should be a part of the subject?
No. What I was questioning is whether or not there was any statutory support for affirmative action, because and I simply don't know the answer, because if it's only just Lyndon Baines Johnson's executive order that is supporting this, because it really is basically an executive branch policy and always has been. If there's no congressional statute in support of it, then Donald Trump's EO can eliminate it. And that's exactly what he's planning to do. And I've since heard from other people that there really isn't any statutory support for affirmative action. It really is just an executive branch policy that has been around since, I guess, 1966, 1965. So for 60 years, and can be reversed by EO. Now, that is going to be challenged in court too. All these things will be challenged in court. But if that's the case, certainly, then yes, Trump can undo it through another executive order. And that was the only thing I was really questioning. I think affirmative action has become very unpopular over the years, and the Supreme Court now has given a couple of really solid precedents by which to unwind it. And that is certainly was the Supreme Court's intent in, I think it was with the case involving Harvard and the University of North Carolina. And I think it was last year or the year before last. And so there are precedents there now that you can argue in court as well. But that was the only question I had about targeting affirmative action as part of this, because it's all of a piece, right? I mean, affirmative action and DEI suggest that you have to create outcomes based on immutable characteristics, or in some cases, mutable characteristics, rather than on individual merit. And there may have been a place for that in the immediate aftermath of passing the Civil Rights Act and in the 1960s and 1970s, when you're dealing with these structural impacts of previous discriminatory practices primarily by state governments, really. But 60 years on, you're still discriminating based on race. And that's what the Supreme Court has said a number of times.
And now we have to take it in the other direction, where what you'll hear from the left is that DEI, without it, that's what the discrimination is. The argument for DEI is that without the division of people, without these trainings and everything else, someone who is black or someone who is a minority is immediately discriminated against. So it has morphed from this idea of, hey, maybe there's a way to think outside the box and think about people, which in the nicest parlance, well, I mean, I'm trying my best to give them the benefit of the doubt. It has become, I think, what it was meant to be, which is without this program, this jobs program, when you talk about the billions of dollars spent on college campuses for these things, it was meant as a way of saying, without it, we are bigoted people. And I think that's where the real fight is, that they're trying to now make this last stand on a federal level, just like we've seen DEI removed on the state level. My Indiana, the new governor, Mike Braun, the former senator, first thing he did, gone, that position gone. And yes, it was a Republican governor who set it up here.
Yeah, but that's a political argument, not a legal argument, right? And the proper place to have that argument would be in Congress. And if Congress wants to reinstall DEI programs and affirmative action, then Congress should really pass that as law, not just be an executive branch policy. Congress won't do that for a couple of reasons. One is that Congress doesn't like taking tough votes on anything. It's a reason why they created agency law in the first place, so they could just simply outsource legislation to the executive branch, which is a terrible idea, in which we really should be unwinding as well. So if Congress wants to have that debate, that's great. That's the place to have it. And it should be in statute rather than EO. And what Donald Trump is doing is he's forcing them to do that and forcing them to reimpose it, which, by the way, is a whole lot more difficult for politicians to do than just simply continue it without having the debate at all. And that's what the big change is here. He's eliminating these positions, he's eliminating these programs. And if Congress wants those programs back in place, they're going to have to recreate them and put them in statute, and then get past his veto if it's in this term or in a future Democrat term. I mean, it could be done again by executive order, but again, with the Supreme Court precedents that you've got now, you've lost that continuity argument. You've lost the kick the can down the road argument. And simply put, that type of thing is going to be seen as contradictory to the 14th Amendment.
Yeah.
As
talking to Ed Marcy of hotair.com. That's where you find his work. By the way, this agency class conversation, one of the biggest ones that we could ever be having, the importance of the elimination of Chevron deference by the Supreme Court, the eliminating of the idea that you must defer to the agency when making hard decisions in the assumption that they are the expert. You actually had senators opposed to this because it meant they would have to do more work, because we were returning to Congress, to the Senate, to the House, their job in creating this legislation. So I think you're very much on point there. But the other thing that you wrote about was about the DOJ, the Department of Justice, under Pam Bondi, who I assume will be confirmed. I have no reason to think otherwise, just like I think Pete Hegseth will be confirmed. The sanctuary officials were coming for you. Who officially is the DOJ and Trump talking about here?
They're talking about the state and local officials that refuse to cooperate with the Department of Homeland Security to enforce federal law on illegal immigration. And this is, a Supremacy Act, pretty clearly a Supremacy Act issue. If the federal government is conducting an investigation into illegal activity, and that includes immigration law, then state and local officials have to cooperate with it, or at least not obstruct it. You see these videos all the time. People get involved in like traffic stops or police investigations, end up being arrested for obstruction because they won't, they'll either block the police from doing their job or they won't cooperate with it. That should apply equally to everybody. And that includes mayors, that includes governors who refuse to work with the Department of Homeland Security on these on federal investigations into the federal crime of illegal immigration, as well as the crimes that these illegal immigrants continue to commit while they're here in the country. And what the Emil Bove is saying in this memo is he's telling the U.S. attorneys in these jurisdictions, you will prosecute anyone who interferes or obstructs your investigation, or if you don't, you need to write that up in a report and submit it to us so we know why you're not going to prosecute it. And that's going to carry some significant consequences for these politicians who've basically been virtue signaling by declaring their cities or their jurisdictions to be sanctuaries.
Like when the former mayor of Philadelphia did that little dance when they became a sanctuary city. He was so excited. Nobody in Philadelphia is excited today when they have a mayor who can't spell Eagles talking.
I saw that.
Oh, she's leading a chant for the Eagles, who are in the NFC Championship against the Washington Commanders, who should be the Redskins. And I think she spelled Eagles ESGSL, schwa, umlaut. And then she used semaphores. She literally pulled out flags and was trying to land a 747. Ed, I think that one of your compatriots over there at hotair.com hit something very, very well. Trump's biggest accomplishment so far, moving the Overton window. The Overton window in case people don't know, is the idea of the range of ideas that the public are willing to accept or think about when it comes to government policy. So if we were to take this into the not so distant past, Obamacare would be a fundamental changing of that. The idea that there should be some level of government-run healthcare outside of what we already maybe have had, Medicare, Medicaid, jumping that up quite a bit. Moving people's thoughts is not an easy thing to do. Trump did it the minute he said no tax on tips. All of a sudden it was like, boom, no tax on tips. And I actually oppose this, because if this is the case, I want to get paid in tips. I have no interest in paying income taxes. Screw that. But the argument here, I think, is very, very strong. I think the question I have for you is, yes, Trump has changed what it is that America is thinking about, the lens in which they're viewing the problems. Has he changed what they're looking at, or has he changed how they view the possibility of solving them?
I think a little bit of both. And I would also introduce another caveat here, is that Trump is, I think my colleague David Strum is correct that Trump himself is expanding and shifting this Overton window on a whole range of issues. But Trump got elected because people wanted that Overton window to shift, right? And they were being, that sort of debate was the type of thing that was being suppressed during the pandemic, thanks to federal government intervention on social media platforms, other issues, other topics. The Hunter Biden laptop story would be a great example of how the establishment tried to narrow the Overton window to that discussion as being nothing. You can't say anything more about that than in terms of it being Russian disinformation. And that lasted until the Department of Justice finally admitted that it was genuine and that there was actual evidence of crimes on it. So I think that by and large, the American public has had it with, government enforced Overton windows. The Overton window is really more of a social construct. I mean, there's certainly things that you can imagine, things that you might say in polite company, I guess, or to use an old term, that simply wouldn't fly. That would mean that you would no longer get invitations to lunches, basically, with your friends. So there's a social construct there that's in play as well. And I think that that's really mostly what it is that this window has really been shifted by the hard elite to only the context of issues in which they approve. And what Donald Trump has done is kind of blown that up. But I think he succeeded because everyone else was sick and tired of the Overton window being stuck there. And so I think that there's a chicken and egg thing that's going on, certainly an interaction that is driving that.
Is there a feeling that one could overplay the hand? I often talk about the political left overplays their hand very, very, very often. They could be more successful if they didn't. Is Trump, while you still have a minute, is Trump in danger of doing this?
Well, yes. Especially Trump, because I think he has not shown great impulse control in the past. And maybe he's learned from that. But, we can just take a look at the challenges to the election, for instance, in 2020, which really, there's nothing wrong with challenging election results, but the type of stuff that they were doing really kind of ran off the rails. And so they vastly overplayed their hand and ended up getting burned by it. So I think that, yes, you very easily overplay your hand on this sort of thing. He hasn't done it yet, though. And he's more popular now than he's ever been, which is amazing.
Ed Morrissey, hotair.com. Be sure to check out the work there at Ed Morrissey, 2 R's, 2 S's on the Twittix. You can find him there as well. Ed, stay right there. More is coming up. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. All right. So while we've got a couple minutes and we're with everybody in the streaming world, you can grab your drink. Yeah, that's bourbon. You said that Trump is more popular now than he's ever been.
Yeah.
I put forth to you that Trump's popularity never got past 47, 48% in any poll. When we talk about the amalgam, he wasn't cracking 50% plus, and he still isn't. The popularity of Trump does not necessarily show up in polls, and the popularity only really has a chance to grow if he is successful in policy, which means not getting it passed, but it having an effect on people's lives in these first 100 hours. Which one of these policies, which one of these ideas, which one of these executive orders gets him to get America to give him 51%?
Well, I think the DEI stuff is certainly among those. I think that the illegal immigration and border strengthening EOs is among those, because those are very popular policies that the Biden administration basically kept opposing. And I think that if it may not even be the policy itself, it may just be the idea that things are changing and changing back to where they should be. And so it may not be anything specific, but I think that there is going to be a tremendous amount of goodwill that gets generated out of the fact that he's hitting the ground running and making changes right now that are actually doing things that he promised to do. And he's not waiting around for a few months this time. He's getting it done right off the bat because he's better prepared. I think that also has something to do with it.
Ed Marcy, hotair.com. I appreciate taking the time. Go live your life. You need to be here anymore.
You look fabulous, by the way.
Don't I, though? I finally, by the way, on a scale of 1 to what the hell happened to your head, what do you think of this haircut?
I think, is 1 good? Is that what you're trying to say? Or
No. 1 is crap, and this haircut is crap. It was a leading question. This haircut is nonsense.
Well, I mean, it looks fine to me, but then again, I'm not going to studio with you. So
I asked the wrong guy.
And by the way, what standing do I have to even comment on that, Tony?
I realize the error of my ways, and I'd like to apologize. Ed Marcy, there he goes. Godspeed, young man. Always appreciate him. Now people are, I think, are going to be bothered by that commentary, that thought process. I want success, and I want Trump to be successful. I want these things, just like you want these things. I'm just aware of where the numbers are, what the reality is, and the reality is not that there for him. Which one of these things? I think it's interesting that Ed said it would be DEI. If DEI, getting rid of that might be the one that grows for him. It grows popularity. If that is the case, do you know how good I feel about the future? Oh, overjoyed. I'm not saying that I oppose Trump on any of these things thus far. We're going to get into a whole thing about the January 6th pardons. To the extent that anybody is upset, if you only look at it through one lens, I think you're wrong. Because there's something that has taken place to these people regarding January 6th that has to be discussed. It has to be. Has to be. So this is Andrew posting a story from Reuters. I am not saying he is more popular than ever. That's not it. 1 minute, producer Landon. I'm not making that argument. I am saying that this 47% is where he was in the polling running for president. I'm saying it's the same. My argument has been for over a year, he is capped at a level of support. He is capped at a level of public support. Now, certainly this was before the election. This was before the switchover in the coup from Biden to Harris. And even in, I should say, in that election too, capped. It just always where it is. But he also had no place to fall to, because the supporters are the supporters no matter what. And that's why when we take a look at the election and we take a look at low propensity voters that put him over the edge in a lot of places, these aren't people that the Republicans can depend on to vote in the future, which creates a whole nother series of problems. So if DEI raises his popularity, I feel so good about the future of the country, I can't even take it. Can't even take it. Coming back to the radio show. Pete Hegseth is going to get confirmed as the Secretary of Defense. But this latest smear job by NBC, so reminiscent of what they did to Brett Kavanaugh. And who was the chick? I don't remember her name. The one who looked scared all the time, who claims that Brett Kavanaugh did this to her when they were kids and that to her, and they were at this party and no one remembers the party or being at the party or her. If you ask me if she made it all up, I would say to you, this is not a woman I would trust with anything. It was ugly. It was gross how the left tried to destroy Brett Kavanaugh. And then, of course, they had no issue in Congress with people being in front of his house and the homes of justices threatening them over the last few years. No problem with that whatsoever. Again, when they do it and their people do it, it's fine. It's only when you do it, it's a problem. So what they're doing to Pete Hegseth is gross, but maybe not as ugly as this bishop and the prayer service that Trump and J.D. Vance were at. We will listen to it. We will break it down. We will discuss it. And, well, I've got thoughts. It's coming up. I'm Tony Katz. Guys, a lot to get to. Keep it right here. We're not going anywhere. Good things to be done. Good things happening. Be right back. Welcome back. Good to be with you, Tony Katz. The show is called Tony Katz today. Today's smoke right there. That is from Aladino. Come on, there it is. The vintage. So this is a Habano wrapper, and this is Corojo in the binder and the filler. And as I was saying earlier, Justo Aroa and everybody at Aladino, I think they're good people. Just unbelievable, salt of the earth, decent, good people making fantastic cigars. This one's nice. This one's easy, although Habano. Gonna give you a little more spice, but this is not overwhelming by any stretch. It's a small cigar, right? 5-inch by what is this? 46? Oh, 4.5 by 48. Right. So that's you would refer to this as a dog walker, right? Something short, something simple. If you were grilling and it wasn't going to be that long, something like this works well. Not my normal stick. I usually like to give myself time. I think I like things in that Churchill size. It's more where I live and breathe. But Aladino does a Cameroon. They do a Cameroon Puro. Now it's Honduran, right? Everything they do comes eventually out of Honduras. So it's a Honduran Cameroon, but it's wonderful. And they've got just a Cameroon wrapper cigar as a Lancero, which is a 38 ring gauge, very thin, spectacular. Absolutely love that smoke. We're going to get into the Pete Hegseth story. We will do that for everybody along with this prayer service. Let me see. I should have the prayer service right here. So forgive me while I put this all together for you. I wasn't kidding when I said I need to hire a director. That still has to come. I have to hire a director. So let's share that right there. And then we'll see how this goes. Let's see.
Mr. President, millions in you.
You can hear that, right?
And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now.
Yeah, we'll just leave it right there for now. I don't know if I can share the video of that. I don't know. Oh, in the live stream, everything will get you like dinged, depending on who it is. Usually YouTube. Like, oh, no, you can't share that. It belongs to this one, belongs to that one. Like, we have the right to use these things, right? But it creates an issue. So, I don't know. I'll probably share it anyway. What does it matter? Let somebody yell at me. Doesn't affect me. How much time, producer Landon? Oh, what? Really? 1 minute and 15 seconds. Look at us. We're very, very fancy. All right, so we will get back to the show in mere moments. Don't forget on the Twittix there, you can follow away at Tony Katz, and of course everything you can join up at TonyKatz.com. Love to have you. Very much would appreciate it. $30 seconds to go. And if you've got a comment, please put it in. Happy to answer a question. Happy to discuss it with you. Undoubtedly. No. Marianne Williams might say something like that, but she wouldn't do it from the pulpit. No. And there would be more crystals. Here we go.
Let me make one final plea, Mr. President. Millions have put their trust in you. And as you told the nation yesterday, you have felt the providential hand of a loving God. In the name of our God, I ask you to have mercy upon the people in our country who are scared now. There are gay, lesbian, and transgender children in Democratic, Republican, and independent families, some who fear for their lives.
That is one heck of a sermon from the bishop. And I will tell you that I've received enough of this, as I discussed this a little bit earlier in my morning show. Is there something about the Episcopal Church I don't know? Others may shy away from this. I got nothing but time. I would love to hear the answer to this question. Is the Episcopal Church just a fully left-wing woke place? If so, what are its roots, and when did that occur, and why did it occur? But for the sake of this conversation, let's discuss this bishop and the lecture of Donald Trump that did not need to be. Tony Katz today. What are you doing, everybody? 833-468-8669. 833 got Tony. That's the number. That's how you get to be a part of the program. Trump is demanding an apology, by the way. She brought her church into the world of politics in a very ungracious way. She was nasty in tone and not compelling or smart. Apart from her inappropriate statements, the service was very boring and an uninspiring one. She is not very good at her job. She and her church owe the public an apology. This is the Right Reverend Marianne Buddy. I believe that's how I pronounce her last name. She is an Episcopal bishop, the Episcopal Bishop of Washington. This was a prayer service marking the inauguration, and she took this time to lecture, to tell Trump that transgender children are scared for their lives. Well, they should be, because they're confused and there are adults out there who want to mutilate them. They should be absolutely afraid because they're surrounded by people who aren't there to help them. I don't want them to be afraid. And the truth is, don't be. But you need adults around you because, A, you're children. You don't know any better. The minute you say this concept of transgender children and their rights, you're trying to eliminate the very concept of childhood, which we have seen in so many different groups and stylings and ways, that somehow the parent shouldn't have a say. The child knows what's best for the child. And once you do that, you're giving a child agency. You're taking away the parental responsibility. Never mind how absolutely horrific of a concept that is. The minority children and the gay children, the transgender children are afraid. What are they afraid of? That the people voted? Trump has been president now for 2 full days. 2 full days. No one has been jailed. No one has been hunted. We were told if Trump got elected, it would be the end of democracy. We were told if Trump entered the White House, it would be the end of democracy. By the way, there is a great video out there. J.D. Vance had never been in the Oval Office before. Never. And it was Donald Trump escorting him in with Speaker Johnson. And Speaker Mike Johnson took video of J.D. Vance entering the Oval Office for the first time. And he's just, I think, doing what the rest of us would do, just looking around like, my gosh, look at this. Look, hillbilly elegy to this? Son of a gun, America is fantastic. It's very, very cool. But the Trump is there listening to this next to Melania. And next to her is J.D. Vance, the vice president. And next to him is his wife, Usha. And he's got this look on his face, and he looks over at Usha. And you know he's saying, seriously? Seriously, I woke up early for this? I could have slept in. I mean, I'm the vice president. I wouldn't have, but I could have slept in. And it goes on from here in all of the horrifically progressive ways.
And the people who pick our crops and clean our office buildings, who labor in poultry farms and meatpacking plants, who wash the dishes after we eat in restaurants and work the night shifts in hospitals, they may not be citizens or have the proper documentation, but the vast majority of immigrants are not criminals.
You mean immigrants pick our crops and wash our dishes? These people can't stop their bigotry. They have no capacity. They can't do it. They have no way to control themselves. Is this the only reason to allow illegal immigration? So you have somebody to clean your bathroom? Go get a scrubber. What's wrong with you? And by the way, if you don't like what you're cleaning, change what you eat. I don't know what to tell you. I'm not the one having that issue. I've got my own issues, but not that one. What a thing to say. Is this the goodness in you, Bishop? And she's not done.
They pay taxes and are good neighbors. They are faithful members of our churches and mosques, synagogues, wadara, and temples. I ask you to have mercy, Mr. President, on those in our communities whose children fear that their parents will be taken away, and that you help those who are fleeing war zones and persecution in their own lands to find compassion and welcome here.
I think the most amazing part of the outrage to this is that people expected something different. I have heard the Pope say a lot of things. Never once have I heard the Pope say, oh, that terrorist group, screw them. I hope all those bastards die. I've never heard him say this. He says stuff like this. What else did you expect? A unity story? A we believe the country can go forward story? Maybe more of a conversation regarding a way we can all move forward? You know, something a little more general? No. Donald Trump, you make gay people afraid. No, he does not. Liberals have decided to try and scare others with his election. That's what happened. And all this Bishop is doing is building into that, feeding into that. But get back to the basics here. I heard from a series of people, and I'm not going to use names, that this is not specific to the reverend, to the bishop. And for the record, I would have expected nothing else but this kind of speech. Really and truly, this is exactly what I would have expected. This was a giant misstep from the administration in going to this event, because they didn't need this story. They could have moved and had somebody different, had a different story to discuss. And it's not going to be the end of the world. I just think it was a misstep, but moving on. What's the story with the Episcopal Church? Is this who they are? And some people had reached out that, you know, they'd left the Episcopal Church because this bishop is not out of the norm. This is exactly what the Episcopal Church is today. I'm like, when did that happen? Now, people have been commenting. They are quite left. And someone Roy putting out to me, if I recall, they publicly declared their properties gun-free zones in reaction to Sandy Hook. You mean the killing of children, and they decided they declared their own property a gun-free zone? That seems odd to me. This was from LinkedIn. I'm Tony Katz on LinkedIn. Yes, we live stream the show there just to upset Reid Hoffman, I guess. They started going woke back in the 70s. Completely over the top. In the late 90s, early 2000s. And that's why many churches broke away and formed the biblically orthodox Anglican Church in North America, the ACNA. Okay, I did not know such a thing. I'm Jewish, if you didn't know. Now, I am a conservative Jew, and not only in my politics, but conservative Judaism. And so you would have Orthodox Judaism, conservative Judaism, Reform Judaism. Orthodox Judaism is what you see maybe in the movies. Conservative Judaism is a recognition that there is a standard, there are rules, and sometimes we don't live up to it, but that's on us. But we like to belong to a place and go to a synagogue and be part of something that remembers that the standard is there. And then there's Reform Judaism, which has, I think, way too big of a membership, and really says, Judaism does this thing, and if you don't do it, that's okay. And that's different than, for example, Reconstructionist Judaism, which is basically the Chinese food menu of Judaism. You can pick one from column A and two from column B, and that's good enough. It's not. It absolutely, positively is not. The standard is the standard, and either you meet the standard or you don't. That I don't know how we could begin to think that isn't, the baseline of anything. This religion goes in and follows these rules. You don't get to pick and choose the rules. Well, maybe that's what creates other level of religions and sects and breakoffs and everything else. But I was curious because I had a few people say this to me about the Episcopal Church. I didn't know that to be true, and at least from what I'm hearing, okay, I'm willing to accept that. The question, of course, is why did this happen? What is the point of this? Is this what they mean by being loving? Or, like all things, it just became politicized, and the people who were able to amass power all had a political bias and then brought people in who confirmed the political bias, and therefore they made something political out of their religion. I will tell you, without any hesitation, when I was graduating high school and getting ready to go to college, I went to Arizona State. I thought long and hard about becoming a rabbi. It was a serious conversation with myself. I did not go that route. I do argue that was probably the right thing to do. Over the years, religion mattering to me so much, I'd say about 15 years ago, fell completely out of favor. Because it wasn't religion. It was this political conversation constantly. And I didn't want that. I didn't want any part of that. If I was going to belong to a synagogue that didn't think Israel should exist, sorry, what am I doing here? What is the point of this? What is the point of somebody standing up there on this thing we call the bima? What is your point? What is it that you bring me? You provide, and forget it. Forget it. It's only over the past couple of years that I've really returned, finding a place that I call home. And even now, I don't get there enough, and I have my issues, and that's an issue with me in organized religion. It has rarely been an issue with me in Judaism. It's more the everything else. And I have come to confirm that in many ways it is my issue, and I don't think I'm alone in that. But I don't think there are certain things that I don't think one should relent on. And there are certain things I don't think should be a part of your religious experience. And if your politics are your religion, well, then I think you're doing religion terribly wrong. I can't imagine that you have any level of happiness whatsoever. Can't imagine it. But I guess I've become jaded to the point where I see this bishop. I'm like, okay, of course this is what she said. What else was she going to say? You had a captive audience there, and you took the time to attack the president. Congratulations. And then to prove that she's a serious person, She went on CNN and then she went on The View. That's what she did, this bishop. You'll forgive me if I don't take her word seriously. I don't think you should either. Yeah, it became a story, and that's where I think the misstep is. With Americans not mutilating children and being strong on the border, that's where they are. And this bishop has no sway over them. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. And welcome back, everybody. Tony Katz Today. Good to be with you. A lot of people sending me commentary about the Episcopal Church. I didn't know. I don't find myself usually asking that question, so I had absolutely no idea that this was a thing. Seems to be clearly a thing about going woke and all the rest. Anyway, coming back to the show right here. And then we're going to get into Pete Hegseth. Oh, yes, we most certainly are. Just waiting for the show to come back, guys. Just doing a little studying. Seems that Stellantis is sick and tired of not getting anything sold. And so they have decided to do something about it. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything I do over at TonyKatz.com. TonyKatz. That's how it works. There was a CEO by the name of Carlos Tavares. And everything at Stellantis, which is Chrysler, Jeep, Ram, Dodge, went to crap. They couldn't sell anything. They couldn't move units. Dealers were getting infuriated and incensed. They weren't coming out with anything of quality, of unique. People angry. And at one moment, Tavares said, "Hey, I'm in charge here. I'll take care of it. You just wait." I think less than a year later, he was out. He quit, took the money, and has run. And now Stellantis is making changes left and right. The Cherokee-sized SUV Jeep is coming back. Dodge is bringing back the gas version of the Charger. Ram is putting a pause on all of its electric vehicles. When you take a look at the data, while Ford and Toyota and Chevy are selling well over 150,000 units in December, Jeep got just over 50, and Ram didn't crack 50. They're going to get back to offering models at more affordable price points, promotions to help sales. They are desperate to get themselves back into a place where people want their vehicles. It's nice to see that, and again, another push into not doing electric. And I'm one of the few. I am not an anti-electric guy. I'm anti-force of electric by government. I often talk about the fact that I'm supportive of my sponsors. I have a local radio sponsor in Indianapolis called Andy Moore Ford. AndyMooreFord.com. There. Give the love. That's what I do. And I have driven a lot of vehicles from them. And so I have driven the Lightning, the F-150 Lightning, the electric pickup. The thing is outstanding. It's outstanding, and it is selling. I don't think to the spot that they thought it would sell. Certainly not at the level of Tesla's, but it is selling. And everybody else that was going to go all electric and go all in, they've all changed their plans because they know it doesn't work. And now with Trump in office, and you're going to see some worldwide swings on this, you can't force people into the thing you can't force them into. They're not interested. They don't want it. So I'm happy for that. But the idea that Stellantis is going to be, try and be a competitor again, that's good for all of us. If everyone's making better vehicles and competing with each other, we get more opportunities, and it costs us less because that's what competition does. I'm Tony Katz. All right. Oh, and then there's this. The head of the United Nations. Here's somebody you should do well, never, ever, ever to pay attention to.
I recently saw an analysis that exposed the grim irony. 13 of the world's biggest ports for oil supertankers will be overwhelmed by rising sea levels. Rising seas, which are caused by rising temperatures, and rising temperatures, which are overwhelmingly caused by burning fossil fuels. Our fossil fuel addiction is
That is such garbage. We have been through this. We have been told this. We did not see the results. We do not believe you at all. But when you're an ideologue, and this is how you get paid.
the Frankenstein monster, sparing nothing and no one. All around us, we see clear signs that the monster has become master. We just endured the hottest year and the hottest decade in history. 2024 is likely to be the first calendar year that's pushed back past 1.5 degrees above pre-industrial levels. Now,
Enough. They never relent, do they? They don't stop, they don't rest, they don't quit. They just keep at it and keep at it and keep at it. No matter how often they're proven wrong. These people are not to be trusted. They are dangerous, dangerous folk. Meanwhile, over there at CNN, Representative Tim Burchett having a fight with Jim Acosta over January 6th pardons. And Burchett is like, you just cannot handle the fact that he won this thing. This is some of the audio. I just picked the spot.
For commuting the sentences of murders and child molesters, which he did, and you all
Congressman, I'm not
refused-
asking
you
about
refused-
that. Congressman,
Well,
we talked
you
about Joe
never
Biden's
do.
pardons.
You never do,
Congressman,
Jim.
we
You
did
never
talk
do.
about it. We talked about Joe Biden's
Oh,
pardons.
Jim, you did not. You all read
I'm
your
asking you-
report from the Democrat National Committee, as you
That
always
is
do,
that
and
is
you attack
absolutely
Americans.
false. Congressman,
No.
are you going to respond and say whether or not it is right to let these people out of jail?
I don't know if it is or not. I'm not a lawyer, but I'll tell you what isn't
You're a
right.
congressman.
is
You're a
for
member
them-
of Congress. You're an elected
It is not-
official. Take a
They
stand.
were not given due process. I told you if they cross the line.
Now that is the story. That is where I'm at. And I will get to that. I can do that first. I can do the J6 story first. I was going to do the Hegseth story first. I will do my position on J6. I will do that first. Because my position it hasn't changed in terms of if you committed an act of violence, you should be in jail. But if you were walking around the Capitol, no. But I'm going to temper that with something, and I'm bothered by people even on my side of the aisle who have not come to this understanding that these things, not everything exists in a vacuum. We'll come back to it. Here it is. Back to the radio show.
Don't know that.
What do
He
you mean
also
you
did
don't
not-
know
he-
that?
well-
We're
well,
showing the footage on the air right now. Congressman, you were there that day. There
Did-
are offenders on January 6th who violently beat police officers. There are offenders who are convicted of seditious conspiracy. That is the truth.
This is a political world, Jim, and I don't remember you all on CNN condemning Joe Biden for commuting the sentences of murders and child molesters, which he did. And you all
Congressman, I'm not
refused-
asking
you
you about
refused-
that. Congressman,
Well,
we talked
you
about Joe
never do.
Biden's
You
pardons.
never do, Jim.
Congressman,
You
we did
never
talk
do.
about it. We talked about Joe Biden's
Oh,
pardons.
Jim, you did not. You all read
I'm
your
asking you-
report from the Democrat National Committee, as you
That
always
is
do,
that
and
is
you attack
absolutely
Americans.
false. Congressman,
No.
are you going to respond and say whether or not it is right to let these people out of jail?
I don't know if it is or not. I'm not a lawyer, but I'll tell you what isn't
You're a
right.
congressman.
It's
You're a
for
member
them-
of Congress. You're an elected
It is not-
official. Take a
They
stand.
were not given due process. I told you if they crossed the line, they were trespassers. Should they rot in jail for the rest of their lives in a federal
Beating,
penitentiary
not
and never be
trespassing,
charged?
beating police officer, tasing police officer.
But it wasn't everybody, was it, Jim Acosta? No, it wasn't. You lying psychopath. It's so unbelievably horrific. Yes, I believe that in that back and forth that Jim Acosta of CNN was having with Tim Burchett, the congressman from Tennessee, that he is lying about what happened because he is painting with a broad brush everybody associated with January 6th, which is exactly what is going on, and that is purposeful. As for the psychopath part, that's just opinion, and I wouldn't be able to prove if he was or he wasn't. I'm not diagnosing the man, so allow me to retract. Tony Katz today. Good to be with you. Find everything at tonykatz.com. People talking about these pardons regarding January 6th. And why is he pardoning people who are engaged in violent acts? And that's so wrong. I have for forever on this show and on my morning show, I have said very clearly that people engaged in acts of violence are different than people who were invited into the Capitol. Jim Acosta spent 10 minutes on CNN going round and round with Congressman Burchett. Was there an admission that there were thousands of people, hundreds of people, tens of people who were invited in by the Capitol Police? There were. They were invited in. They almost got a tour. They were invited in to the Capitol. I ask you right now, should those people still be in jail? What did they actually do wrong? So we can, as rational people regarding January 6, 2021, say there's a difference. There's a difference between being invited into the Capitol and taking a tour while other people were acting in a violent way, destroying property or attacking other people, including Capitol police officers. It's worth remembering that the only person who died because of January 6th was Ashley Babbitt. Only person who died because of January 6th. And that was done by the Capitol Police. I do not believe she had to be shot. Don't jump through doors. You didn't have to be shot. This is my take. So I think there is a difference, and I think that we could have gone about making that difference. Trump engaged in more blanket pardons. And people are saying, see, this is just wrong. You allowed people who are violent to just be out of jail. Normally, I would agree that that is wrong. But there is a big part of this conversation that I think people like Jim Acosta, who I consider to be a non-mind. And what about this idea? Is he going to move to midnight? There was this whole conversation that they were going to move him to midnights. Because if so, I have got a plan, and I have no idea how I'm going to accomplish this plan. I'm not even going to discuss it, except Daddy got a plan. In this conversation, I am Daddy. Daddy has a plan, and if it happens, we're at least going to try it. We're at least going to try it and see what comes of it. The thing that I think people are missing about these January 6th pardons is something that Representative Burchett brought up. How have these people been treated? How have the people who were charged, arrested, jailed because of January 6th, how have they been treated? Well, the reporting states that many of them have been in solitary. Many of them have not been able to contact their lawyers as they should. Many of them have not been able to get medical care as they should. I have seen this reporting. If any part of that is true, and I would argue that it is, then pardon everybody. Because these are American citizens, and you don't have to like what they did. With all due respect, I do not care if you like what they did or not. Now, that can be considered harsh, but it is factual that if they are American citizens, they are afforded certain rights. We're going to argue that illegal immigrants should be afforded the right of the 14th Amendment, and we should argue that people associated with January 6th shouldn't be given due process. I do not know how one does such a thing, manages that level of origami to switch themselves around. I have not met the yogi master who has been able to figure out that level of contortion. Then again, the problem with the people who do the yoga, not necessarily Democrats of this level. If these people were not given access to their lawyers in a timely manner, pardon. If they were kept in solitary confinement as punishment, cruel and unusual, which would be a violation of the Constitution of the United States, pardon. Immediately. Because I rank the things. and the treatment of American citizens by the justice system comes before the alleged crime that you at CNN, Jim Acosta, want to decide they are guilty for. You want no level of judge or jury. You are the Judge Dredd of CNN. Jim Dredd over there at CNN wants to be judge, jury, and executioner. No consideration to due process? I only have consideration for due process. And if it was not followed, these people get out of jail. Now, this leads to a story that I think it was PJ Media had. PJ Media had this story that the pardons went out, and yet people were not released. Catherine Salgado reported the story that people in these jails who run the jails were slow rolling the release of prisoners, and some refused to release people who were in jail because of January 6th. If that is the case, if any police officer anywhere did not immediately move, if any prison official did not immediately move to release these people, charge them with treason. Now you say to me, Tony, I don't think you can charge them with treason. All right, pick something. They get fired, right? They lose their pension. If there's a pardon, I don't want to hear what someone thinks of the pardon. I'm going to say it again. It comes across so horribly. I don't care. What does it matter to me if someone likes the pardon or doesn't like the pardon? That's the president. That's the pardon. It's game over. They are released. I'm not allowed to engage a punishment of the Biden crime syndicate because they got pardons. I am sickened by it. Bill Clinton pardoned Mark Rich. It was gross and obscene. And you could say the same thing about Trump pardons. You could say the same thing about George Bush pardons. But they are what they are. The pardon power exists. They're the president. It's game over. They're released. And anybody who didn't release anybody regarding January 6th because they didn't think they were right, that is absolutely subverting the role of the president and the voters who put him in office. If that's not treason, tell me what it is. We'll go with that. You treated these people like animals because you were going to teach them a lesson, Jim Acosta. I mean, that is what you're saying. You can argue anything you want, but I think we all get it. And so many of these progressives, we're going to teach them a lesson. Oh, they'll never do that again. They'll never support Donald Trump again. I don't argue that they were right. I don't. I argue that if the rule of law was not followed and due process was not given, I don't care what they did. Out they go. The system has to work. Without the system, we have nothing. I thought this was the lesson. I thought it was the lesson. Clearly not. My mistake. I'm Tony Katz. This is Tony Katz Today. Oh, guys. Yeah. I'm telling you right now, has anybody, I have not seen, like, I heard the original story that they were going to move Acosta. I couldn't remember the name Acosta, to midnights. I'm like, I've got an idea. Because I'm telling you right now, I could, the reporting is that Acosta makes $700,000 a year at CNN, $700,000 a year. So I said, if you put him on at midnight, put me on instead. I'll do it for half. And in 6 months, I'll have double the ratings. It's not even a question. I will have double the ratings. Just put me on. So I mate, I don't have an agent. Maybe that's it. I'm also not willing to move to DC. Hey, that's also it. I wonder if we could make something like that happen. If we could make something like that happen. Speaking of, you see this right here? So we're working on growing out the live stream as we've been doing it and working on, and yes, sponsorships are available. So you saw it too, right? So I wrote the book Let's Go Barbecue. It's by myself and Fingers Malloy. He is my co-host at Eat Drink Smoke, our cigar and bourbon show. eatdrinksmokeshow.com. There it is right there in the corner. That's our fancy logos. We also have the merch. And we wrote Let's Go Barbecue, recipes, tips, and tales from the pit. We also wrote Let's Go Bourbon, the bourbon reader you've always needed. They're both at Amazon.com. So I was practicing with some of these lower thirds and like, okay, how do I make this work? Nationwide. So for those of you who know, my father passed away in June, and he was in the merchant services business. And so I have taken that over, right? In addition to all the radio, I do credit card processing, consumer financing for businesses, small businesses, large businesses, all sorts of things. So that's that. And so I was just practicing with some stuff, and some people have asked, hey, does that mean you can help my business? Yeah, if I can, we'll help. We're more than happy to try and do that. Processing's a weird world these days. So yeah, we're going to be offering up the sponsorships of the live stream and building that up there, and we can do signage in the whatever the back here, and dress the set and the whole thing. So it's all going pretty well. I'm pretty pleased with that right there. Where can we try your beef brisket? Now, I don't do it for retail purposes. I don't do brisket for that, but we do have some seasonings that we are working on, and I'm remiss in getting it done. That we're gonna get out there from Eat Drink Smoke. As I said, my partner is Fingers Malloy. It's going to be Fingers Meat Rub. What did I? Was something I said? No. Yeah, no. It's gonna be called Fingers Meat Rub, and so we have got that. That's coming. There's been a long conversation about coffee, and there is some brilliant coffee roasting that goes on in Indianapolis. I mean, brilliant coffee roasting. So working on that, and hope to bring that to the world as well. We're busy. And the final one is a cigar. I've been desperate to get that done. Desperate. I just haven't found what I'm looking for. I know exactly what I want, and I'll know it when I've got it blended. I'll know it right there and then. That's that. And we're closer on the set, closer on the lighting. I think I'm gonna bring it down a little, just a little. It'll be all right. We're about to come back to the show. We'll get into this Pete Hegseth story, and glad you guys are here. Appreciate it.
And one of the most simple things that we can do is just not comply. Today, the Trump administration, and also last night, the Trump administration signed a bunch of illegal executive orders. For example, Donald Trump tried to sign an executive order to end birthright citizenship in this country, which is...
He didn't try to sign it, Representative Ocasio-Cortez. He did sign it. Illegal executive orders. See, when Joe Biden does it and pays off student loans, where the Supreme Court says you can't do that, that's fine. When Trump does it, It's illegal. You are precious. Precious. You simple child. I never used to talk this way about her at all. But it's just too much. The silliness is just too much. Producer Landon, finger on the dump button just in case.
Part of the Constitution. It is day one already trying to shred the foundational documents of American society and try to end birthright citizenship, which basically, as we know, if you are born in the United States, you are a United States citizen.
Nothing says I care about the Constitution like favoring illegal immigration. Nothing at all. And what the 14th Amendment says, it says subject to the jurisdiction thereof. If you don't want to read the whole thing, Representative Ocasio-Cortez, you don't have to. But it says all persons born or naturalized in the United States and subject to the jurisdiction thereof are citizens of the United States wherein they reside. That's what it says.
Citizen. That remains. That is the law. That is the Constitution. And he just tried to sign a piece of paper trying to say no. We don't have to listen to him. It's illegal. We don't have to treat this seriously. It's a joke. And that's not to say that what they're trying to do isn't serious. It is serious, but we should not consent in advance.
Getting her voted out of office. How could this not be job number one? Tony Katz today. What I want to see as job number one is Pete Hegseth being confirmed as the Secretary of Defense. And the other day, just yesterday, the left threw in a whole new story. NBC News said senators receive affidavit containing new allegations against Pete Hegseth, who denies the claim. What is the allegation? The allegation is that Hegseth made his second wife fear for her safety. Here's the story. NBC went to Pete Hegseth's second wife. I'm not saying the man is perfect by any stretch. And said, we have a source who says you were abused. We were told you were abused. His second wife says, that didn't happen. I was not abused at all. NBC said, okay, we're going to write this story and go about smearing Pete Hegseth. And the second wife said, yeah, but this is inaccurate. And NBC said, got it. We're going to run the story. This is all about, I mean, this is part two of Brett Kavanaugh and how they, at the last minute, brought in the accuser, and we were at this party, and this happened. Blasey Ford. Isn't that her name? Christine Blasey Ford, that's it. And this happened and that happened. We were at this party and no one remembers the party. No one saw the party. No one even thought to invite Christine Blasey Ford because they all thought she was a loser or whatever the case may be. It's that written all over it. The desperation to keep Pete Hegseth out. Desperation through the roof. There is no doubt that Hegseth will be confirmed in my mind. None. I think he's going to get all Republican senators. He might pick up one Democrat senator, maybe two. I thought maybe he would get more. One, maybe two. When they do it, it's fine. When you do it, you must be destroyed. This is their mantra. How many more ways do you need to see that they live by it? Find everything at TonyKatz.com. This is Tony Katz Today. And with that, guys, we end the stream. So I'm out of town Thursday and Friday, heading to a conference. We'll be back on Monday, and we will share the stream then. I hope you'll join us. I hope you'll share. I hope you'll bring it back. Yeah, we're different than other people, but hopefully entertaining. That's what I'm going for. Entertaining and interesting, give you something to think about as opposed to telling you what to think. That's all I'm trying to do. That's all I've ever tried to do. And I'm going to keep doing it. So I appreciate you guys. I appreciate you being here. And I will catch you on Monday. I'll find everything over at TonyKatz.com. I'd appreciate it if you would do that there. Tony Katz on X. You can find that there. And of course, TonyKatz.com. Find it all. I'd appreciate it so very much. I'll catch you guys. Take care.